Hi everyone, today we're talking about barn star and we're getting really close to the finish line for this top. So join us and see how it's looking now that we're able to add that outer border of 16-inch blocks to our big diamond star center border. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Shamrock Quilt Studio. Well, hi everyone, and as promised, today we're talking about barn star. And since we left last time, I have really made some great progress with this. And today I'm going to show you where we are, and we're going to put on the final strip of 16 by 16 inch blocks. So let's get started. We've talked about before how we took the diamond star block in the center of this and we added a 5-inch white border around that to increase the size of the big square in the middle. Now that big square was 24 by 24. So if you think about it like an item of art on a wall, you have your item of art and then you have a mat like it's in a frame, and then you have a border. So when you're looking at this quilt top, we have that art, we have the mat, and then we have the frame. And the frame was this custom 3-color inner border, and it was a large green section flanked by 2 blue and 2 white sections. And then from there, I've also put an outer white border on 5 inches, just like we use right next to diamond star. So we've got a good frame job there around our artwork. Now we're going to take all of this and treat this as if it were the artwork. And our new border is going to be our strips of 16-inch blocks that we made. We've got the farmer star, the tulip star, friendship star, I don't know that I remember, and northern star. We'll get it right there. And then on this one we've got the other farmer star on the other end. The way we constructed this is that we put, after we got that border on, the inner border, the colored border, and we put the white 5-inch border on, and we put that white border on the same way that we put it on diamond star. We put the 2 sides on, and then the top and the bottom spanned the whole size of it. And we're going to do it the same way to put these strips on. So what I've done here is I've already got 3 of the strips on, and I just need to put 1 on the top. And you can kind of see there how they've gone on. Now, since we made some changes with this design along the way, I had to go back and change the sashing that we put between the strips. We had a smaller sashing on, and this was going to be 1.5 inch finished. I had to go back in and put a larger sashing on here. And that sashing is 4 inches finished. So that started out as a 4.5 inch piece. And the reason for that size is we needed to get this strip of blocks to fit in the size of the square that we had created so that everything will go together just right. So now I've got 3 sides with those blocks on. Let me see if I can find the side. It'll be the last one, of course. We've got one side that has no blocks. That's this one right here. So you see we've got blocks coming up the sides, and that's on both sides, but here we've got no blocks. So that's where we're going to be working today. Now, one of the challenges with this is the fact that it's so large. This is going to be great on the bed, but as far as working on it on our table, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. So let's get started with that. And what I'm going to do first is I've got one of my disappearing markers, and I'm going to mark the center. And when we talk about the center, we could be talking about a couple of different things. First of all, we could talk about the actual center of all fabric, and that's, I can match those two blocks up, and then we can mark here the center. And I think that's what I'm going to do. We're going to start with that. And I try to put my mark just in that 1/4 inch seam that we're going to have, but sometimes it ends up being a little bit bigger. You can get it out. It'll definitely come out when you wash it, but you can usually blot them dry and get them out that way as well. I'm just going to do a little bit of check here. I'm going to take these two blue fabrics and match them up and see if we get the same center, and we do. So I think we're in good shape as far as that goes. So there's our center right there. Okay, I'm going to put this face up, and then we're going to take our block and we're going to put this strip on. Now, one thing we did was we tried to have our 16-inch blocks go in a certain order, and then they would turn the corner and go in that order. So we need to make sure we're continuing that. And this, I think, is our northern star. So we just want to make sure the northern star is on this end. Okay, and there it is right there. Okay, so we're in good shape. And then there are 5 blocks on this center unit. So that means this is our center. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to match that up as best as I can with the center of this block. And I'm going to use the point of that flying geese. Okay. And then we're going to start pinning. And I'm going to start in the center and work my way out on one side, and then come back and do the other side. We may find that we have to adjust it a little bit. When I did the one on the other end of the quilt, one side was a little bit longer, and when I say a little bit, like 1/4 inch or less, so it's able to kind of ease that a little bit so that they were very similar when they were finished up. So we're just going to manipulate this a little bit because, like I said, it's a lot of fabric. And we don't want to tug on it too much. We don't have many, but we do have a few pieces of raw fabric that are bias. I've got some pins in here already. And I'm pinning these probably about every 6 inches or so, just as a test. Now this is the tulip block here, and I can tell you that tulip block, somehow because of the way it's made, it does need to be stretched a little bit. It's a beautiful block, but it is a little difficult. Okay, and we're noticing here that as we put this in place, this one is probably about 1/4 inch short. So let's see what happens when we pin on the other side. If we're lucky, it'll be 1/4 of an inch too long, and we can just shift it slightly. We're not going to be actually changing anything. It'll just be a matter of easing it in or shifting it. Okay. Now these, because I know we may have an issue, I'm going to go about 12 inches on these pins. Okay, this one is a little bit short, but it's probably the 1/8 of an inch. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to shift it just ever so slightly, so we're at just shy of 1/4 inch. Oops, I'm sorry. That is a piece of fabric that is not trimmed off. Let's do that right now. I did not take off the extra fabric here, and I'm beginning to wonder now if I did that on the other side. Ooh, that was loud. Okay. Be careful about leaving that open because you don't want to accidentally cut your project. Okay, so we're going to line this up where it should be, which is about 1/8 of an inch there from the end. And let's see now if we just give this just a little tug if we're close to where we need to be. And see, here we have another one. When I had to change out the sashing, I did not get those trimmed back up. And then we're going to adjust this other side to be about 1/8 of an inch. And see where that puts us. Let's trim this off. Okay, I think that's going to work out just well. We didn't have this that needed to be trimmed down here. But in all of the inches that this encompasses, and it's probably close to 90 inches, coming up with 1/4 of an inch ease is not hard to do. Okay, so this is in place now. This one needs to be trimmed too. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a few more pins in here, and then we will do a little bit of stitching to put this in place, and then I want to show you how that's going to look. I think that this has been on the bed, and I think we're really close to the size I wanted. The only thing I'm going to do is I am going to put a border around the whole thing, and the reason for that is I don't want to be dealing with all of these points and seams in the binding area. So I think we're going to put a little piece there, and I think that probably it's going to be something along the lines of the size of that sashing that we used before, so that we can have just a little bit of area there that's plain before we add on the binding. So I'm going to work on getting these pins in and start our sewing, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got our fourth side on now, and that's how that looks on our quilt. So that's great. Look at the corner here. This is not pressed, but I think you'll get an idea of what that looks like. So we've got that corner block, and then we've got our borders, and then going into our mitered corner there. I'm working on a way to get this hung up so that you can see the whole thing, or alternately to be able to put it someplace where you can see the whole thing. And it does need to be pressed, and I want to get that other small border around the outside put on so that we're not stretching those edges out when we do that. So that I want you to be able to see the whole design and be able to understand what all of these steps have been leading up to. I'm very, very pleased with it. I think what we'll do is we're not going to let this bear the weight of the quilt, but perhaps you could get a better feel for that if I have like an extra hand. So there you go. That's what the corner of this is going to look like with another border around it. But I'm going to leave you today with just the striking beauty of this quilt, as much as we can see anyway, because it is so large. We've got this beautiful diamond star. We've got the stripe with the mitered borders. And then we've got the beautiful blocks on the outside. If you like this video and if you like this project, please give me a thumbs up. Be sure to share it with a friend and subscribe if you have not already. I'd like to bring you some more projects and increase viewership on and subscribers on our videos. Really helps us to get there. I thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a great week, and I hope you sew something awesome. We'll see you next week.